Okay. Hi, everyone, and welcome. You are at the, well, the second 2025 Platinum Meetup, the first session where we have someone talking about a topic or a theme chosen by you. And my name is Victoria Barnett. I know and recognize some of you, but not all of you. So feel free to keep introducing yourselves and sharing where you're from into the chat. Today we have the amazing Julia, who is talking about what's new in diabetes tech tools that will work for you today. And this is part of our Platinum Club, and it's our first session of 2025, and many more coming in 2026. So with that, I will hand it over to Julia. But if anyone has any technical issues, feel free to send me some messages, and I'll be here to help you out. And to
Awesome. Thank you so much, Victoria. So it's so nice to meet you guys. I see a few people on here who I've met before at Slipstreams. It's so nice to see everyone who I've met before and to meet everyone who's new. My name's Julia Blanchette. I am a diabetes care and education specialist or diabetes educator. I live in Cleveland, Ohio, so I do apologize ahead of time that I'm thinking right now I put everything in US like milligrams per deciliter, not in the metric system. So I am so sorry to my Canadian friends. Um when we get into some of the details of the tech, I apologize. Um but I am also a person living with type 1 since I've been at Slipstreams before, so hopefully I have T1D. I've had type 1 for 26 years. Um, and I've used all sorts of technology. And so one of the things I do is I like helping people use the technology that works best for your situation. And I work with right now a lot of younger and older adults, kind of like during life transitions. That's my special area. So I am going to share with you guys some more about CGMs, insulin pumps, what's on the horizon, and then we can have a real talk, real question and answer about some of the considerations that you guys have. So with that, I will get started unless anyone has questions. Awesome. Okay, so we're just going to do an overview here of continuous glucose monitoring, automated insulin delivery, and then I put tech toolbox. That's just going to be our discussion about other ways you can use technology, things that may not have been included in here. Like there's like inhaled insulin, or there's some other ways like patch pumps that aren't automated insulin delivery that we can talk about when we have a conversation. If you want some more tips and tricks, if you're looking for more ideas. So I put that in here too. So we'll go into CGM. So I think everyone's probably familiar with continuous glucose monitoring, but in case anyone's new, a CGM is a sensor, which is a little tiny eyelash-like filament that sits under the skin, and it's inserted with a tiny needle that retracts, and it leaves a sensor wire. That sensor wire will last 7 to 15 days or 365 if it's the implantable one. But in that case, it's not a sensor wire. It's actually a fully little implanted rice-sized sensor. The sensor is the part that actually measures the interstitial glucose. And what it does is it's not picking up the blood directly to look at glucose, it's looking at the fluid surrounding the blood. So the fluid contains glucose that's moved out of the bloodstream and already into the tissue. And then the sensor has, really a biological enzyme that kind of catalyzes the glucose reaction. When the glucose in the interstitial fluid touches the enzyme, a reaction occurs. And so that's how the sensor is able to tell how much glucose there is. And so it sends this raw signal, and then the software converts it to a glucose value. So again, it's not exact blood glucose, it may be a little bit lagging or delayed because it's in the interstitial fluid. So especially if you are like rising or falling quickly, it may not be quite accurate. And then you have the transmitter, which is the piece on top on the outside of the skin. And that sends glucose data via Bluetooth to the receiver every few minutes. And then you have the receiver device, which is either your phone app, or insulin pump, or reader. And that's where you look at the glucose data. And so now we're going to kind of go into all of the options. And I am so sorry. I'm only an expert in what's available in the United States, but I believe a lot of this is also available or will be available in Canada if it's not already. Um, okay, so first we have the Libre 2 Plus. This is one that you have to scan every 8 hours in order for it to continue giving you data. Um, it has a 1 hour warm up. It lasts 15 days. It replaced the Libre 2, which was 14 days. Um, some people are still using this instead of the newer Libre 3 Plus because it works with certain insulin pumps that the Libre 3 Plus may not work with yet. Other people are using it because they like it and they don't actually like the constant stream of data unless they're scanning it. The cool thing about this, though, is that it still gives you high and low alerts, even if you're not scanning. As long as you've scanned in the past 8 hours, it can still give you those high and low alerts. The other really great thing about the Libre is I have some patients that have like a harder time with numbers or they have a harder time navigating screens. They find the Libre, the way it's set up, the interface to be a little bit easier to navigate than some of the other CGMs. That's one thing that I've heard. It's easier to digest and understand. So that's another cool thing. And then we have the 3 Plus. You can see it's much smaller than the 2 Plus. 3 Plus is on top, the 2 Plus is on the bottom. It's also 15-day wear time, replacing the Libre 3. Also 1 hour warm up. Um, and the biggest difference is that you don't have to keep scanning it every 8 hours to get the continuous data when you download it. And that it gives you the glucose readings every minute, instead of you having to scan to see. It does work with some insulin pumps, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Okay, and so then we have the MiniMed Instinct. This is available in the United States. It just became available within the past couple of weeks. This is integrated with the MiniMed, formerly Medtronic, which was formerly MiniMed, which is very confusing. 780G insulin pump. It is essentially a Libre 3 Plus that just works with the MiniMed 780. You don't have to calibrate it. I should have started with that. With all of the Libres, you don't have to calibrate and you can't calibrate them. They are factory calibrated. Otherwise it functions though, same as the 15-day Libre 3 Plus. You just can't use the Libre 3 or sorry, the Libre phone app or reader app with it. It uses the MiniMed app. And then the last freestyle CGM we have is the Abbott Lingo. Okay, so this is for people who don't have insulin-dependent diabetes. So you may be like, why are you telling me about this? I'm telling you about it because it's a good backup plan in case of an emergency. So in the event that you really want to keep using a continuous glucose monitor and you are having barriers to getting yours for some reason, you don't need a prescription to get this. It is available. You can order it on Amazon. It's over the counter without a prescription. And it is the same thing as the Libre. It's just, it has a different app. So if you were to ever use this in case of an emergency, buy it out of pocket over the counter, in the United States, I should add. Um, the thing to keep in mind is that it won't give you the same alerts for highs and lows like the other types of the other types, it's so weird to say, the other Libres do, even though it's the same thing. The app is a little different. So it'll show you if you're going high and low, and you can keep looking at it, but it's not going to have the same safety alerts that the Libre has otherwise. I also just wanted to tell you about it in the event that you see people wearing it, so that you know how to talk about it. There's a lot of feelings about people who don't have insulin dependent diabetes wearing CGM. And so we can kind of have a discussion about that later if you guys are interested in talking about that at all. But I see online there's a lot of feelings because it's not everyone has access to this technology, and we know it's so important for people who use insulin to be able to get it. And then in the pipeline, okay, so that wasn't the last Libre slide. This is the last one. The pipeline, there is something called, they're calling it the DJK, the dual glucose ketone sensor. It is anticipated to come out next year. It is basically, it looks like the Libre 3 Plus, but it also will continuously sense ketones. We don't have a lot of information about it, even though it's presumably coming out in the next few months to year. But what we do know is that it's not going to give you a continuous level of ketone like it does with your glucose. What it will do is it'll kind of tell you if you're in a safe range versus not a safe range for ketones. And then if you're not in a safe range, as in you have higher levels of ketones, it will alert you. But it's not going to be like you're looking at a CGM graph per se. It'll kind of give you just like this green, you're good to go, yellow, you're kind of building up ketones, and red, there's an issue alert. And the thing that is important about this is when you think about people who are at high risk of developing ketones, think about when you're sick. It would be so nice to know, to have some type of signal if you're developing ketones, right? But also, SGLT2 medications are really good to halt and to help people who have kidney damage from long-term diabetes. They're only approved in type 2 diabetes right now in the United States. But there's studies of how they can help people with type 1, but they can cause ketones. So if we wanted somebody to reduce their complication risk, something like a continuous ketone monitor would be really great to then be able to use that type of medication that might help you with complications otherwise. So that's kind of why everyone's excited about it. I also think people just like data. Some people really like data, some people really don't. So the data people are just excited to kind of have another data point here. Okay. So moving on to the Dexcom. We have the Dexcom G6, which has been out for quite a while now. This is one of the last remaining continuous glucose monitors that has a detachable transmitter, which is so wild to say because they used to all have detachable transmitters. But you reuse the transmitter piece for 90 days. And then the sensors all last 10 days. It has a 2 hour warm up period. And it gives you the continuous readings. A lot of people, love the Dexcom interface. And so we have a lot of people that are, diehard G6 users. They don't want to upgrade to the G7. And one of the things I hear clinically, and I'll explain the reason why, is that some people find they have less signal loss with G6 versus G7 if you're using it with an insulin pump system. That's actually because if you think about it, you're putting a transmitter on top of the sensor. It's bigger. There's more room for the Bluetooth signal to work. Then when you go to the G7, which is more affordable, smaller in one piece, right? There's lots of those benefits, but it's smaller. And because of that, the signal may not be quite as good. And we're finding that. So I have some of my patients don't want to get rid of their G6. They're like, don't take it from me. I understand why if you're like that. Um, so I just want to talk about that. And I think everyone's been scared that at some point the G6 will go away, but we haven't really gotten that indication yet. I will tell you in the United States, it seems that it's harder to get transmitters and sensors for the G6 at local pharmacies than the G7 sometimes. So if you are one of the people that uses a G6 and you use an insulin pump system that works with it, keep in mind you may also be able to use the G7 or the Libre 2 Plus or 3 Plus um, if you can't get immediate access to the Dexcom G6 until it gets back in stock or your pharmacy is able to order it. So just wanted to give you that tip. And then we have the G7. This is the G7. There's another G7 that I'm going to talk about with updates in a minute here, but the original G7, um, again, is one piece. The transmitter is built into the sensor, one applicator piece that lasts for 10 days with a 12-hour grace period, 30-minute or less warm up. And it's compatible with many insulin pump systems right now. And the app actually recently had some cool improvements. I just noticed and learned that you can actually integrate Apple Health with your Dexcom G7 app now. So now I can see my glucose when I start exercise and end it, and it gives me a whole report within my app that I just learned about the other day. And so I think that is so cool. You also can take pictures of food now in the G7 app, and it overlays on your trend graph, which I think is a really helpful feature if you're trying to figure out some of your glucose patterns. Um, and it has some really cool features, like you can set different alerts and alarms at different times of day. Like if you don't want to be disturbed at a certain time of day, you can set different alarms for that or overnight. You can also share with many loved ones your data on both this and the G6 and on the Libre apps as well. Oh, And now we have the G7 15 day, which launched on December 1st. That was just over a week ago. It lasts 15 days instead of 10 plus a 12-hour grace period. It is the same thing as the G7 normal one. Um, it uses the same mobile app and it uses the same receiver if you're one of the people that has an actual receiver for it. To date, it is only compatible, supposedly. I can't verify this because I haven't had a patient who's been able to verify it, but it's supposedly compatible with the Beta Bionics eyelet. It is supposedly compatible with Omnipod 5. It has been announced it will be available with the Tandem X2 and Tandem Mobi in the coming months. Other information for you to know is that it right now in the United States is only available through durable medical suppliers. Um, it will be available through pharmacies within the coming months. It is Medicare approved. You should be able to get it if you're on Medicare. You do need a new prescription. It's a different code that your provider has to order to get it for you. So even though it's basically the same thing as the G7 that's not 15 days, it is a new code when they place the order to the pharmacy or to DME. Anyone have questions about that? I don't know.
Yeah,
Victoria has a few questions.
I have a few questions.
Yeah, I figured we could stop here just because I figured this might be one people have questions about. So,
I have one question. I guess it goes with the G7 too. When you said you can take pictures of food, that's only if you've got a G7 um, phony like thing. Is that right? I mean,
yeah, yeah, that's such a good question. So you have to be using the mobile G7 application on your phone.
so as long as you've got the application, which my phone's too old. Okay, application.
Oh.
The other thing I wanted to ask you is I'm on Ozempic as a type 1,
Oh, I
and
love this topic.
I never knew that I never knew this about ketones, and I sometimes will go really high. Is there a relationship between having Ozempic and ketones?
That's a really good question, and we can talk more about this specifically towards the end. I wanted to pause for the
Yeah.
Dexcom, but I will very quickly answer you. So Ozempic is a GLP-1 receptor agonist. So what that does is different than the mechanism of an SGLT2. An SGLT2 that I was talking about with the risk of ketones helps basically it helps your kidneys kind of filter out and push out more glucose. It can dehydrate you. That's the thing with SGLT2s that can cause ketones. With GLP-1s, what we see is if people aren't eating or if they have GI upset from the GLP-1, that is when ketones happen. But it's not directly from the way the GLP-1 works. It's just from the side effects of the GLP-1.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
And you mentioned there's drug interaction with some of all these devices. What's
Yeah.
the drug interact? What does that mean? Vitamin C? You shouldn't have
Yeah.
Libra. You shouldn't have vitamin C if you are using Libra.
Yeah.
Then I'll be quiet.
No, yeah, thank you, Suzanne. So there's a reason I didn't really call that out. So it's on the slide because it's what they say. I have patients that get really freaked out about it though. And so that's why I kind of didn't bring it to your attention, but it was on the slide. So if you need high dose vitamin C, you better take your high dose vitamin C. If it interacts, quote unquote, with your sensor, what you need to do is do finger sticks to check to see if it's accurate, okay? And if it's not accurate, then that's when it becomes a problem. But don't assume that you can't take your high dose vitamin C or hydroxyurea for Dexcom. If those are prescribed to you, please take them and know that you can always do a finger stick to make sure your device is accurate. And that's how you should handle it, in my opinion. Yep. Cool. All right, I'm going to keep going for a little bit.
I have a quick question. Two things. When is sorry,
You're okay.
what's going on here? When is the G7 15 day going to come out?
Yeah, I don't, you're Canadian, I can tell. And I don't know the answer in Canada, but I know depending on how far you are from the United States, it is here in the United States right now.
Oh, okay. And the thing about the taking a photo of food, can you just explain that quickly, or can we find that online?
Yeah, so do you have the Dexcom G7?
Yes.
Go into your Dexcom app and make sure it's updated. And I'm looking at mine right now just so I can tell you the exact thing. Um, so, oops. So what mine lets me do is I can press like if I'm I don't know if you can see this. I'm on like the main like G7. Ooh, screen, and then if you press the plus button, you can actually add, it says add meal, but there's now a smart food log where you can take a picture of your food and it puts in a description for you of what it was and it logs it in your Dexcom Clarity, which is really cool.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Yeah, Julia, just on that, I've heard that, there's a lot of AI research on, trying to take a picture of your food,
Yeah.
and that the current AI tools are very good at recognizing what the food is, but not very good at recognizing quantities, which is
Yes.
why it's still, not great to use for, say, dosing.
Yeah.
That
That's a
right?
really good, yes, that is. And you know what? Let's break this down. So AI is only as good as the information that's fed into it. And so if you think about it like that, first of all, people aren't great at carb counting, right? Unless we're precisely measuring everything. And so, and then also for AI to understand the exact size of a picture of something is then very hard as well. So it's like it's probably not getting the best information or consistent information fed into the AI, like predict it's basically predicting in a way what you took a picture of, right? So that being said, we're going to talk a little bit. The newest, coolest thing is actually carb awareness and carb estimates over carb precision, and we'll talk more about that. Um, and so that's something I think is more promising than AI for carb counting. How's that? Cool. Okay, I'm going to keep going just to make sure we get through everything. And then we can talk a lot at the end. Um, Next thing I'm going to tell you about is the Dexcom Stelo. This is another one that is not really indicated for people with type 1 diabetes or people with insulin-dependent diabetes. So again, why am I telling you this? Just like with the Libre version, the Lingo, the Stelo is available over the counter. It is a really good backup plan. If you, for some reason, do not have access or ability to get your typical sensors. It doesn't work with insulin pumps integration, but you can wear it as a standalone CGM instead of having to keep poking your finger all the time. The Stelo is the same as the G7, the same exact device. It just has a totally different app. This app, instead of giving you alarms for highs and lows, it gives you spike alerts, and learning insights. So again, see if you can't feel your lows, this you know, you can't depend on it to alert you if you're using it as a backup plan, but it it really gives you the same information as the G7, and in fact it also filters everything right into Clarity. I put one on for fun because I had one that was expiring at my clinic, and it put my data into Clarity, and it didn't look any different from my end when I was looking at my Clarity than my Dexcom G7, and so I thought that was interesting. um so it is definitely a good backup plan. It's available on Amazon. $80 a sensor, 80 US dollars a sensor. And it's really cool too. Like my husband's going to put one on just so he can understand what it's like to wear one. Um, and yeah, so that's another cool thing about it. And then one of the last ones we're going to talk about is the Eversense 365. This is an implantable continuous glucose monitor. The little sensor itself is about the size of a grain of rice. It's very tiny. It goes into your arm, which I'm going to show you in a minute. Um, and then the transmitter on top is rechargeable and removable. So for somebody that doesn't want to continuously wear a CGM or needs breaks, this is a great option. It also uses a totally different type of glucose sensing technology using fluorescent light, and it is actually a little bit more accurate than some of the other sensors, but it does require calibrations. Whereas the Dexcoms don't require calibration, but you can calibrate. And then the Libre line, um, you cannot calibrate, right? And so based on what the Eversense folks say, they say people that may want to consider it are people that have a lot of skin irritation to adhesives. The adhesive that you use to put the transmitter on top of the sensor is a gel-based one, and it's really different than the other tapes that are used for diabetes devices, and it's a lot better for people that have extreme sensitivity. People that have dexterity problems, like if you have like trouble grabbing and grasping things, you don't have to keep inserting this every couple weeks. You just it's kind of like a magnet that stays on top of the sensor, and you don't have to replace it. And so that's kind of nice too. Um And then lastly, if you have a bleeding disorder, this would be a great option. If you bleed a lot or you're on a blood thinner and it's interfering with your other continuous glucose monitors, the only time that would impact you is when you get this inserted, and there's ways to help treat that when you get it inserted once a year. So um, there's that. And so you're probably wondering a little more about this. So I'm going to show you guys an insertion. Does anyone like get grossed out by this kind of stuff? Does everyone approve me showing you this TikTok? Okay, great. If it plays, let's see. Oh, here
So
we
I
go.
have a lady who has an Eversense already implanted, but it's been 6 months and now it's time to have her next one put in.
All right, let me just back up. This is 6 months because it used to be you had to change it every 6 months. It's now every year. I thought this would be cool so you could see one that's removed and then a new one put in. And it's once a year now, even though she's saying 6 months.
So I'm going to show you how to take the old one out and put the new one in. It takes less than 10 minutes. Easy. It's easy. Sensor's gone.
That's it. It's the same exact way you put in an implant on, which is like a type of birth control. Other devices use the same insertion. Laurel has her hand up.
I wear ever since.
Oh,
If
you
any,
do?
yeah, I do, and I've
Okay, great.
worn it for several years now. So
Great.
if people have questions about that, I can talk about it. I love it. I did have bad skin reactions to all the adhesives. I tried all kinds of different bandages and ways of dealing with it. I also have take high dose aspirin, so I have thinner blood. So about once every 3 Dexcoms, I had a bleeder that I had to reinsert, do a new insertion on, and I'd get a huge bruise. Um, and also, I had issues with it being flaky. The readings that normally are flaky for the first 24 hours from inflammation, I inflammation with me is deeper and longer. So I was having 2 days out of the 10 that it wasn't working for me. And I love it. I really love the Eversense. And you don't, it looks awful, but actually you don't really, the worst
It's
part of
not
it
as
is having
bad.
the local anesthetic put in. It's like when you go to the dentist, it's the local anesthetic that really hurts when it first goes in. And the calibration now is only after the first 20 days when you have to do it more regularly. It's once a week calibration.
I was gonna ask, so do you have the
So
365?
yeah, I do. I've got the
Okay, cool.
365. I originally had the 6 month, and I do have the 365 now. And it is once a week
Yep.
calibration. So it's not much, you're calibrate. If you think about it with the Dexcom, you're reinserting every 10 to 15 days. So
Well, and then
it's not,
especially if you're having issues with accuracy, you're probably calibrating a lot, right? So
yeah,
the Dexcom anyways.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, and I was like, I actually just put the calibration schedule on the slide because I was like, it's gonna be too complicated to try to like write it up myself. And I thought this was really nice. So it's like the once a week for the 351 days. And then there's a whole initialization phase, which I'm sure Laurel, you could talk more about. But from my understanding, you need to do a few more finger sticks during that initial phase. And then once you're
Yeah.
past that, you then do it weekly.
After that first 20 days,
Yeah.
you drop it. And the other thing is it's not a magnet. It actually, the transmitter is with adhesive, but it's an adhesive. It's just on top, so you can take it on and off. It isn't attached to the sensor.
Yep.
It's just sending the signal, what it gets from the sensor to your phone. And so there is an adhesive that holds it down, and you change that regularly. You do have to charge the transmitter, and the charge is much longer than it was originally. So
Oh, I didn't realize that.
it goes for about 3 days for me now. It was once every day, and some people find it easier just do that period because like when they shower they charge it because it's 15 minutes to charge it.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks
Uh,
for sharing all of that.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Um, so I don't have the skin irritation, but I'm on an anti-clotting medication on Plavix, clopidogrel. So I hear what you're saying about the Dexcom.
Yeah.
I'm curious. For me, the Dexcoms tend to be wild for about the first 12 hours and then usually settle
Yeah.
down. When you do that calibration in the first 20 days, do you find the readings are pretty close usually, or do you find there's quite a
So
bit
the
of
first
difference?
week of it, it will be finding its way. And part of that, what you need to realize with the Dexcom, the reason for that is inflammation from the insertion. And obviously, this insertion is a little bit more invasive. So it takes a little bit longer for everything to settle down in the body. It's not that necessarily the sensor is wrong, it's that the body is not settled down. So it isn't getting reliable readings. And then after that, it's usually pretty good, but you do need to calibrate. I'm trying to remember. I think it's once a day for the first 20 days. And then
Uh,
it switches over to once a week.
Okay,
this
thanks.
says
And they're moving.
following the initiation phase, perform a calibration every 24 hours for the first
Yeah.
13.
Yeah. So you do a regular calibration then, and generally speaking, through that time, I find it pretty accurate. That first 7 to 10 days for me, and again, it's because I have another weird disease where inflammatory reactions are deeper and longer than for most normal people. So it takes mine a little bit longer to settle down than a normal person would.
But Laurel, it's a really good point. I think a lot of people, oh, sorry, am I freezing? Oh no, am I freezing?
A little bit, but I hear you.
Kind of. You want me to try my other? You hear me? Okay. As long as you can hear me. I was gonna say it's a really good point because I think a lot of people who have had diabetes for a long time do have a lot of inflammation, and a lot of us also have other autoimmune conditions that are inflammatory. So, everything you're saying is probably not a problem that's so unique to you. I think
Okay.
some of the others on here could experience the same thing, if not now, at some point.
Yeah. That I hadn't thought about that because I was
Yeah.
fairly recently diagnosed. I was diagnosed at age 61. So
Oh wow.
yeah.
Wow.
Um, yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, so going on
I think
with
Randy had a question too.
oh, I'm so sorry, Randy.
Randy, and there's a couple in the chat. I can read them out.
That'd be great.
Um,
I don't want to mess with my computer. I don't want it to freeze more. But
okay, thanks. I won't. And so now it's good for a year.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so they change positions once a year only.
So no,
Oh,
actually, I'm finding certainly with my doctor, he takes one out and puts the new one in the same spot. And
is that
he said,
right?
now it depends on who you're seeing, but the doctors could definitely, or the nurse practitioners, take it out and put it in the same spot. They can do the same insertion if that's what you prefer. And my doctor says he was the one I've got now. It wasn't the original doctor, but the one I've got now was involved in the testing with ever since. And so he's got a
Oh, cool.
long experience with it. And he says he has patients who have had like 14 insertions in the same spot, which I can't quite imagine. I think I'll probably want to switch mine, but you know, it doesn't have to be a different spot every time.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm going to read the chat ones really quickly. And there's one more question from Eva. Okay. Um, the first question's from Andrea, and it reads, will you get your readings from when you had it off?
Oh, when it's off, so when you have it off your body, you're not getting any readings. When you put it back on, it catches up. It takes little bit of time to catch up, but it catches up with the past readings. I've never taken on for off for a really long period. I don't know if there's a limit to how much it's able to catch up because I don't know
I
if
don't
there's a
think
limit to
so.
the memory and the sensor. I'm not sure.
I don't think there is that I know of.
But it's also, by the way, this is also very good. For instance, if you do certain kinds of activities where you're regularly wearing it and you don't have you can't have a cell phone with you, like you're swimming or something like that, because it buzzes on, it vibrates on the arm when there's an alert.
Hold on one second. My Alexa started speaking, and I don't know why. Alexa, stop. Sorry. Hold on. I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened, why that happened.
The second chat question got answered in the chat by someone else, so thank you. So Eva, go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry, maybe I missed that, but is it available in Ontario?
I don't think so. I
No,
don't
I
know
didn't
when they're
think
going to have it
so.
available in Canada. Is there anybody else who can speak to that for certain? I think it's only available in a couple of countries, to be
Not
honest.
available that, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's US and there's one other weird choice. Or maybe I also want a Frezza, which is another weird thing too for my
Oh,
insulin.
great. We can talk
So,
more about that. I wanted to talk about that later. So,
well, at
cool.
any rate, yeah, it's not yet in Canada. I realize that, but there also I know a lot of people from the US on here, and hopefully eventually you'll get it in Canada.
Yeah, eventually. I had also read that sometimes it was hard to remove.
Um, I've never had a practitioner who had a problem removing it.
Okay, good.
I think it's part of the reason why it does need to be inserted in certain parts of the body, because where it's inserted in the arm, it's sort of where muscles sort of hold it in place, so to speak. So that's part of the reason for the insertion point.
Eva, I can tell you my office used to do the insertions, and I think if you have someone really experienced who knows what they're doing with the insertions, I think it's
Well,
a
exactly.
problem. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a learning experience when it eventually gets here. Yeah, which it presumably will eventually.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
One more chat question and then continue.
Yeah.
It's do any of the closed loop pumps use Effersense as their CGM
No, not now. And in the US, that's the biggest drawback for most people I talk to, because most people are in closed loop. And I knew, given
Actually, it's in limited
it
launch right
will
now.
be
No, it's in limited. No. It is in limited launch right now. I
with,
spoke to the MSL from Sequel today. It's right now. They're starting people on limited launch in California, with the twist right now.
oh, they are.
They are like
They
as
aren't
of
like,
like
it
this
isn't
week.
still in test. I thought
Like
it was
as of
still,
well, it's limited launch, right? So
yeah, yeah,
it's probably people that work at Eversense or Sequel that are
yeah,
starting.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not generally
Yeah.
available yet. And
Yeah.
it's going to be with twist. But
Yeah.
it's, yeah, and for me, that I have the same problems I had with Dexcom. I figured I'd have similar problems with a pump, so I didn't want to do a pump, and that's when I decided to do Eversense.
Well, cool.
Okay.
Can we move on for a little bit so we can get through more? Yeah. If you guys have really important questions, you can put them in the chat and we can make sure to get them at the end if that works. I did just want to say, so Eversense is covered by Medicare. And then if you have commercial insurance, like if you're not on Medicare in the United States, there's a program where you can pay like as little as $199 to get it. But it is kind of a situation where so it's shipped to your provider's office. And it goes through durable medical, not through pharmacy like some of the other sensors go through now. And so I think the key though is working with an office that's done insertions before and really has it streamlined. So if you're interested, it may mean you have to maybe travel a little bit to find that place, but I think that's a good tip based on what I've seen clinically.
One thing to just say, it's actually covered better under Medicare than private insurance. Medicare, I just had my first Medicare covered one. It picked up everything.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I was flabbergasted, including
amazing.
the insertion, because it's
Probably
part of the
because it's
procedure of the
medical. It's
insertion.
medical.
Yeah, exactly.
It's medical. And so for Medicare, it works. Yeah, that's amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about this one now. Okay, so moving on. So we'll go to Medtronic. So, or MiniMed, sorry. It's MiniMed now. So the Guardian 4 is not new. This is the sensor that was working for a while with the 780G insulin pump. It's up to 7-day wear time, 2-hour warm up. You don't have to calibrate it, but you can. Sometimes it asks for calibrations. Um, it's not very exciting. There's some more exciting ones that have come out recently that we'll talk more about in a second. The Simplera is it's supposedly in limited launch right now, although I haven't heard of anyone being able to get it. Um, it's probably one of those limited launches where it's like isolated to people that work there type thing. So it works with the 780G. It's finally a one piece, all-in-one sensor transmitter from Medtron or MiniMed. Insertion is way easier than the Guardian. The Guardian's very complex to insert if anyone wears it. It's has a lot of pieces and parts, and it's not good for people that don't have great dexterity, and it drives everyone crazy. But the Simplera, it's a one insertion device, like one step insertion, just like with the Dexcom G7 or the Libres. And it's only 6-day wear time, which is kind of the limitation, and it still has and it has a 24-hour grace period, so technically it's 7 days. And then it has, ooh, sorry, I didn't mean to scroll through that. And then it has a 2-hour warm-up period. You can calibrate it. So we'll talk more about the pumps in a second here. If you're interested in like the different options that work with the MiniMed, I have a whole graphic that displays that. So we're going to move on to automated insulin delivery systems, the insulin pumps of today. And I'm so sorry, I keep scrolling accidentally. Okay, so what is an automated insulin delivery system? So you may have heard of this as a hybrid closed loop system or an artificial pancreas. And it's a system where the insulin pump and the continuous glucose monitor talk to each other so that you can automatically adjust insulin in the background to keep glucose in range. And so a lot of you that use insulin pumps probably use one of these right now. And so the main parts are the CGM for the glucose readings, the insulin pump device itself to hold the insulin and deliver the insulin every few minutes, and then the algorithm, which is kind of like the brain. So the algorithm is software either inside a pump or cloud-based or in an app that predicts where glucose is going based on a bunch of factors, and they're very different depending on the system it is. And then it decides how to adjust insulin every few minutes based on those predictions is the gist of it. Right now, for automated insulin delivery, users still have to have an awareness of carbohydrates, and the systems do best when announcing carbohydrates, not exactly precise amounts of carbohydrates as much as just announcing that you're eating something or having carbs. You still have to change the infusion set or the pod. You still have to problem solve low and high blood sugars, and then you still have to kind of put in some work or let it know if you're exercising. But we do know that these systems have a lot of benefits. They really help people get closer to the time and target range of 70% or more, 70 to 180 milligrams per deciliter. And I am so sorry, I don't know off the top of my head without closing my screen what it is in the metric system. I'm so sorry. But 70 to 80 in the US is the range. And we know that they help reduce low blood sugars and they improve quality of life and improve sleep. And there's still a long way to go, but we have some great tools now. So the 5 that are commercially available right now are, well, 6-ish. So there's Control IQ, which is for the Tandem X2 pump and the Tandem Mobi pump. There's the 780G by MiniMed. There's Omnipod 5. There's the Beta Bionics iLet. And then there's the Sequel Twist. And we're going to talk about all of them. When thinking about which of these to choose, because there's so many now, think about if you prefer or need a tubeless pump for some reason, or if the tubes really bother you. Think about if you are really, you don't want to change your continuous glucose monitoring system. A lot of the pumps now work with multiple continuous glucose monitors, but sometimes you don't want to change that if it's working for you. So that might be a factor in picking one. Think about how to adjust insulin delivery. They all have different pieces you can change in the algorithm, things that you can adjust and things that you can't. And so for certain situations, different algorithms might work better. Like for a more consistent lifestyle, certain algorithms might work better. For people that need more flexibility, certain algorithms might work better. Think about if the interface is easy for you to understand and navigate, because if it's not, then you're going to be distressed when you're, adjusting to using it. Think about the infusion sets that are available and what infusion set your body might need. Personally, I can only use the steel infusion sets. My body hates all of the plastic ones and like reacts to them, which is a weird thing that my body does, but there's certain times when people need to use certain infusion sets. Um, and then if you're, in a situation where you're in the US, for example, think about how insurance coverage works, and you may pick one that goes through the pharmacy channel instead of durable medical just based on cost differences. And then also think about how easy it is to set up, learn, and teach others if you want support on it. Okay, I'm not going to read this to you guys, but I made this for you today that it's a reference sheet for you, and so it compares these different systems. It has all of the hardware listed. It has the interoperability listed, CGM compatibility, and the insulin reservoir capacity, and then key features. I'm going to have Victoria email you a beautiful PDF of it after. So I don't want to go through everything on here since we will talk more about it. But what I will point out on here is that there are certain ones where you have to use mobile app to control it. You cannot use anything besides the mobile phone app. And that would be the Mobi, and then the sequel Twist right now. Those you have to use a phone app. Like you can't, there's no pump screen to navigate everything on otherwise. And then I also wanted to point out that as of now, all of the systems except for sequel Twist work with both iOS and Android interoperability. Um, so, Twist is going to work on Android, and then Tandem Mobi previously only worked on iOS, but it's been announced they are going to work with Androids. For continuous glucose monitors, um, basically, if you look at this, it looks like just from quick glance, the Tandem X2, Omnipod 5, and Beta Bionics iLet have the most continuous glucose monitoring options available. But the Dexcom G715, which is the one that just came to the US market a few days ago, is already compatible with Omnipod 5 and the Beta Bionics iLet. So that's important to keep in mind. And then the only one that only works with one CGM-ish right now is the sequel Twist. But as we already said, they're in limited market release with the Eversense. So another thing to note is that the Eversense 365 is only compatible with the sequel Twist. It's not compatible with any of the other pumps. And that's probably all I'll say for now on here. Otherwise, you guys can use this as reference. And then I went into each of the algorithms on here. This is also just for reference. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty of this. We'll talk about each of the systems individually. Something that I did want to talk about is, so each of the systems works, like the algorithms are different. All right. So I broke it down by the systems. And this is how the basal insulin modulation works by algorithm. So for Control-IQ Plus for Tandem, it uses a target glucose, it uses the insulin sensitivity factor or correction factor, and then it uses the pre-programmed basal rates. For the iLet, it only uses the person's body weight and the target glucose. For Omnipod 5, it uses the total daily insulin dose that's been delivered, which you don't have control over, right? And the target glucose. For the 780G, it uses the target glucose. And then for the Twist, it uses the correction range, the insulin sensitivity or correction factor, basal rates, the maximum basal threshold, and then the glucose safety limit. So as you can see, like some of these are much more complex on the user end than others. And then for the bolus modulation by algorithm, Control-IQ Plus, you can change the carb ratios and the correction factors that impacts how much you get for boluses. For the iLet, you can't do anything besides just announce that you are eating a meal. That's all you can do, is you can say you're eating your usual amount, more than usual, less than usual. Omnipod 5, you can change a bunch of the settings related to the bolus, even though you can't really change anything related to the basal modulation. And then for the 780G, you can change the insulin to carb ratio and the insulin action time. And then for twist, once again, you can change a bunch of different bolus factors. So the reason this is important is because I think sometimes, unfortunately, even healthcare providers don't know how to best optimize these systems. So if you're going to pick one that has a lot of things you can change, I think something that's helpful is to understand what you can and can't change and how it impacts the system overall. And then general tips for automated insulin delivery. So across the board, people that have higher time in range have higher time in automated mode with these systems and wear a CGM that's working with these systems for more amount of time. One barrier that I see a lot with all the systems across the board is connectivity between the pump and the continuous glucose monitor. You really do have to put them closer together sometimes than you realize. And that can really, like, if the signal loss can really be an interruption. Um, Other things to keep in mind, so like across the board, the lower the glucose target, the more time in range, and not necessarily the more time low we'll see. Pre-bolusing, even if it has meal detection technology or you don't really have to announce your meals, entering in that you're eating before you're eating still has the best success with all of the systems across the board. And really across the board, you need a more intensive insulin to carb ratio and correction factor. And then additionally, across the board, unless you have a lot of insulin that's been delivered from miscounting a meal bolus, treating hypoglycemia with 5 to 10 carbohydrates is all you really need. Otherwise, you get some rebound issues. You have to, when you're exercising, use temp targets or other basal patterns for a lot of these systems. And suspending it when you're not wearing it, like when you're showering or exercising in certain cases, is also important. And then always making sure that whatever you have as a backup plan matches your current insulin that you're getting is really important. So, like, the worst thing that could happen is if you have basal rates that are programmed into your system that are like twice what you're actually currently getting, right? And then you have to fall back on your manual basal rates, or something happens to your pump and you need to take long-acting insulin. So, just like knowing what you're actually getting for basal insulin every few months or so when you work with your healthcare team is really important. And then if you forget to take a bolus across the board, if you enter in something, it's better than entering nothing in. And if it's about 30 minutes to an hour later, consider entering half of what you ate. And if it's more than an hour later, just take a recommended correction dose. Don't fake carbs. Okay. So, I think, was I only supposed to talk? I think I was supposed to stop talking by now, but we haven't even gotten into the systems yet. So, Victoria, when's the best time to like take a break? Should I keep going or?
You can keep going. There've been a couple questions that have come in the chat that I didn't want to disturb you with, but one I think relates to one of the last slides you had up.
Okay.
Oh no, now I've lost it. There was a slide that said maximize time in automation.
Mhm.
The question is, if you're on a pump, then you're automated the whole time, aren't you?
So, not necessarily. So, especially with some of like with the MiniMed 780G, for example, if you're using the Guardian 4 sensor, there's some issues with staying in automated mode where it may remove you. With the Omnipod 5, if you get a minimum or maximum delivery alert and you address it, it prompts you to put yourself into manual mode for 5 minutes, and people forget to go back into automated mode. With the iLet, you are always in automated. There's no way to not use it in automated. With Tandem, like, for example, if your pump battery dies, sometimes when you turn the pump back on after the battery dies, you're no longer within Control IQ. So that's something to keep in mind. You might have to reset it. So like there's things like that that can happen. And also people will manually exit automated mode thinking that automated mode is annoying or not helping them. And a lot of times just not understanding how some of the factors are impacting the algorithm. Um, all of my patients that go into manual mode do not do as well in manual mode for the most part. So that's what that was referring to. Cool. Okay. So for this says Medtronic. It should say MiniMed. per their new name, 780G. Um, this system has a great algorithm. I was like, I didn't buy it, okay? Like the 670, it was the first automated insulin delivery system that was commercially approved that came out. It was really innovative. People had a lot of issues with the original sensor. Um, and it wasn't very aggressive because the FDA put a lot of restrictions on it. And so I think a lot of my patients have a lot of like alarm fatigue trauma from using the 670. A lot of my friends do as well. And so I was like, how could the 780 be as good as they're saying it is? Well, I wore it and it's as good as they're saying it is. I actually wore it to a slipstream. And so think about it. I was traveling. I wasn't on my usual schedule, which that always makes my blood sugar more crazy. And every time I looked at it, it had already given me a correction if my blood sugar was even remotely like going up. Like if I was like 130 with slightly going up, it already gave me a correction dose. Like it was so good. So that's my 2 cents about this algorithm is I think it's aggressive. I think they got it right. So even if you've had a bad experience previously with Medtronic, don't be afraid to learn more about this algorithm. Um, it does have a lot of different target glucose values you can choose, including one of 100, which is why I think it's so aggressive. It has a smartphone app that it's not, you can't really use it to do anything with the pump, but it does sync data and it does do the remote uploads. Sorry, not remote uploads. It does remote updates to the software through the app. Um, and the key thing with this is using the lowest target glucose of 100 and then using an active insulin time of 2 hours really helps if you're trying to make it more aggressive. Their whole selling point with this is that it has this meal detection autocorrection feature where if your glucose starts going up and you didn't take insulin, it will start giving you micro boluses that are decently aggressive if it's predicting you ate to address that spike. But people still have higher time and range if you're entering in your carbs that you're eating. Um, a cool thing about this now is that you're not stuck with the Guardian 4, which is harder to insert and has a lot of pieces and parts to it. There's so the Simplera Sync, again, I haven't seen anyone who's used it, but supposedly that's coming out, and that's the one that's all in one insert. It's the 6 day wear time with the 24-hour grace period. You can calibrate it, which may be the key thing for certain people is if you're one of these people that finds that you want to be able to calibrate your sensor or need to calibrate it, that may be why you might pick the Simplera over the Instinct. So then the Instinct is like the Libre 3 Plus but for mini med and it's 15-day wear time. Um, and you cannot calibrate it. So that may be the limiting factor, but people are starting to get the Instinct shipped to them here in the United States. If you have a mini med 780G and you haven't gotten it yet, we can talk about how you can get it in the United States because I walked some patients through that the other day. So that's kind of it for that. And then in the mini med pipeline, so they're going to integrate their InPen, which is their smart insulin pen, with the Instinct and Simplera. And then they have this Flex and the Fit Patch coming out. And so the Flex is like a much smaller tubed insulin pump controlled by the phone. And then the Flex is going to be like their patch pump. Regardless, I think what's important to know is that they have a good algorithm. That's my 2 cents. And it's a traditional tubed pump. And some people really like having those buttons to press and having having a device that's not dependent on a phone. Okay. And so here we have Tandem X2 with Control IQ. So the Tandem X2 holds 300 units. It's a traditional tubed insulin pump with a touch screen. It's small, it's sleek. It works right now with the Dexcom G6, G7, Libre 2 Plus, Libre 3 Plus. Dexcom G7 15-day will be coming next year. So the Tandem X2 has an app that you can use to see all of your data that's going on the pump and then to give remote boluses. I depend on that feature apparently. So like when I can't do a remote bolus for some reason, I like don't bolus as much and I don't interact as much with my pump. And they actually did a whole research study on this, that people that really like using the remote bolus feature engage more with their pump when they use it, which makes sense. But you still can do everything from the pump if that's what you prefer. So right now, if you look at the target glucose, it's It's like 110, which doesn't seem that aggressive, but the benefit of this pump is that you can manipulate the basal rates, you can manipulate the carbohydrate ratios, you can manipulate the correction factors. And so you actually can do a really good job manipulating the aggressiveness of the algorithm, even though it seems like it has restrictions. Additionally, it will give an auto correction every hour on the hour if glucose is predicted to be, oh, sorry, if it's over 180 or predicted to be over 160. And it'll give you 60% of that program correction bolus. So we find that people with more intensive correction factors on this system do a lot better. And then there's the sleep mode, which keeps you between 110 and 120. So if you want to use a more aggressive range, some people do that as well. And I think the biggest thing to know though is that if you're not working with a healthcare team that can help you like optimize the nitty-gritty of these settings, then it may be kind of frustrating if you're not getting a high time and range like you'd like. I've seen that happen before. And so recently Control IQ Plus came out, which was super exciting in my opinion. So the big thing is that you can now do extended boluses in the Control IQ mode without having to go into manual mode for up to 8 hours, this is the only system that lets you do that. That's an automated insulin delivery system. And you can also do temporary basal rates now on top of anything you're doing in Control IQ mode. So even on top of activity mode and on top of sleep mode. So for example, you can use sleep mode to make it more aggressive, and then you can use a positive basal rate on top of it to make it even more aggressive. So I've been playing around with that as well. But the other thing that this Control IQ Plus approval did is it expanded the weight-based indication. So before it was only for people up to 200 pounds was their weight-based starting indication. Now it's up to 440 pounds. And then insulin usage initially was only up to 100 units a day, and now it's up to 200 units a day. They also added type 2 indication and lowered the age to 2 years. So it's for a lot of people now, whereas before it was restricted. So it's very exciting. And then the Tandem Mobi is kind of like the new and popular thing now. It's the tiniest insulin pump. It is about the size of an Omnipod or the size of a dental floss case. Um, and you can either wear it on your body on a patch, you can clip it, or you can kind of just put it in a pocket. It's so tiny. It still has a tube, which has benefits, and then it has some downsides, but you can get a smaller tube for it or shorter length tubing so that you can wear it kind of as a patch. Or I know a lot of people that kind of just wear it as like a mini pump, but you have to use the phone-based controller for it. So you can't do anything on this little pump, right? You have to do everything from the phone, only on iPhone, but it has been announced it will work with Android in the coming months. It is the same exact Control IQ Plus algorithm that we just talked about for the X2, which is the tubed version. The only thing that's different is right now it only works with G6 and G7. It has been announced it will work with Libre 3 Plus soon, and it will work with Dexcom G7 15 days soon. And something else exciting is this tubeless Mobi that's supposed to be coming out within the next few months. So I will play this if it lets me.
This is the tubeless Mobi insulin pump, and this is the tubeless form factor coming out for it soon. Here's what you need to know. Tandem Diabetes says that the tubeless form factor of Mobi is coming in 2026. And don't fret, if you are a Tandem Mobi user right now, you will have access to it because there are just updated pieces that allow you to use it with your current system. Tubeless Mobi uses an updated cartridge that has a bit of a slider that allows you to put the pump onto a patch on your body. This patch, I presume, would be put on with an applicator, and it's got the infusion set in it. That infusion set, Tandem says, will last up to 7 days. That's right, their steady set was officially approved by the FDA, and that will be on the system, so the tubeless Mobi will last 7 days. If you want to learn more about the 7-day wear infusion set that's coming to all Tandem pumps, tubed too, and more about tubeless Mobi, you gotta check out our latest video up on YouTube now.
And great, the next video is the video on the infusion set, the steady set infusion set. So I'll play this real quick. If it lets me. Let's see.
This is essentially how it comes, and this is the steady set here. So just to show it, it's super simple. You've got the tubing on top, which is and that's your connector, and this is actually the set and the inserter. So like I said, it's a two step insertion. All you have to do, and there's little peel tabs here, is you peel off the adhesive covering and then place it on, and you have the two button press.
Wow, that was easy.
Yeah, right.
Wait.
Okay, so this is the Steady Set, which is going to be a 7-day wear infusion set for the Mobi and for the Tandem X2 with tubing. But in addition, like mentioned in the previous video, there's the tubeless Mobi patch coming out that will also last 7 days. And you'll be able to put on, if you own a Mobi now, you clip the Mobi you have now onto that patch. So those are kind of the exciting things that are in the pipeline here from Tandem. So moving on to Omnipod 5, this one's really popular since it's tubeless, it's easy to navigate everything. Right now, you can use either the controller that Insulet provides, which is a locked smartphone. You can use an iOS app or an Android app. It is important to know that it does work with a bunch of continuous glucose monitors, but based on the continuous glucose monitor of your choice, you may have to order different pods from the pharmacy. So you just have to make sure the right pods are ordered for your system. The algorithm works based on the total insulin that's been delivered to you. It is not as smart as people think. I don't know the nicest way to say that, but it bases it off of the total daily dose. So with each pod change, it updates that total daily dose of insulin, and it gives you a static basal rate based on that total daily dose of insulin that's been delivered. The the past 6 or so pods go into that calculation. It's a decaying weighted average with the last couple pods weighing the heaviest. So if you have like a really significant change in insulin need, that may be a situation in which this system may become a little tricky for you to use. Um, all of that being said, though, it's really easy to use and it's dependent on bolusing. So the more you bolus, the better 50-50 basal insulin bolus insulin split you have, the more aggressive the algorithm will be because it'll better understand your total daily insulin dose. And that being said, people have much more aggressive carbohydrate ratios and correction factors with this setting than you would otherwise have on some other systems, and that's how it's supposed to be. That's how it best works. So that can be kind of an adjustment for certain people. Um, and the lower the glucose target you use, the more aggressive the algorithm is. So as of right now, if you were to get it, the lowest target is 110, but I will share more with you on the next slide. And even like some people will use like the higher targets. The higher the target you use doesn't necessarily protect you from lows. They actually did a huge real world analysis on this of people that have been using Omnipod 5 for more than 3 months. And what they found is that people that are at a 150 target don't necessarily have lower time below range than people at a 110 target. So the only time I really recommend using those higher targets is if you use very little insulin, you're very insulin sensitive, which we know some older folks are. You may need a slightly higher target overnight or at certain times of day. But otherwise, like I would use 110. Okay, I'm going to get off that spiel now. Last week, we just found out that Omnipod 5 has a 2.0 version now. This is coming out any week in the new year. What will happen is so it's already integrated with the Dexcom G7 15-day. The Libre 3 Plus is also coming in the new year, but there's a new updated target glucose range, so you can now go down to 100 as the target instead of 110. And they kind of changed the responsiveness of the algorithm a little bit. So those advisory alarms that you get for the maximum basal advisory and the minimum advisory, they kind of changed that restriction a little bit, so it won't be triggered as easily, and it won't be as annoying for the users. Considerations are that pods will be available in pharmacies in early 2026 for the new features. And then you do have to update your app to get these new features. The pods will have a black dot with an R1 on them. That's how you can tell if it's a 2.0 Omnipod 5 pod or not. And then you don't need a new prescription, and it is compatible with all of the other CGM sensors that Omnipod was previously compatible with. So from my understanding, this may solve the issue of you having to order certain pods for certain sensors. It sounds like this this new pod will be compatible with all of the sensors, and that may be helpful if you want to try a different sensor that's compatible with it. I'm trying to think of what else I wanted to tell you about Omnipod 5. Oh, so if you go from the controller to your phone, get a new phone, or somehow your app is deleted on your phone, it is important to know the total daily insulin dose will be wiped from the history and all of your settings will be wiped. I am seeing this problem happen a lot with people who are upgrading phones or people whose phones did some weird update and somehow deleted their app. So just make sure that you know your backup settings if you do use an Omnipod 5 and if you use it on the mobile app, since I'm seeing this a lot. Um, okay, in the pipeline. Oh no, I think something's wrong. I meant to just put this slide on here. Okay, so in the pipeline, we already have this like enhanced Omnipod 5 that's coming to market. It's already been approved and announced. It's coming out. Then there's going to be an Omnipod 6, which should be a little bit more aggressive. And then their hope for the like very future Omnipod is to have a fully closed loop system where you don't have to interact with it as much. You don't have to take as many boluses. So that's really exciting as well. So they're working on a lot right now. Okay, we are almost done. So another pretty new automated insulin delivery system option is the Sequel Twist. Is anyone on the Twist on this call? No? Oh, Randy, you are? Randy, I think I've seen you in the Facebook group.
Yeah.
I've totally seen it. That's why your name looked familiar. Okay.
The CGM or the Slipstream one?
I don't know. The Twist group. Are you in the
Oh,
Twist group?
no.
No, that's not you. Okay.
But I just approved them. I'm getting training on Monday.
Oh, cool. Okay, great.
You know, I'm on the Omnipod 5 and I said I'd never go back to a tethered pump, but I'm gonna try it.
Cool. Well, I think you'll really like it. I formerly looped. I did DIY loop with pods back in the day. This was maybe 2015 to 2017-ish. And then I actually submitted my retrospective data to the trial that was submitted to the FDA in the US to get this approved. So I used something similar to this, but not on the Twist itself. But the Twist is really, it's small. It's this tiny little circle thing. It's lightweight. And it has a really great system that can detect occlusion alerts very quickly compared to all of the other insulin delivery systems. The thing to know about the Sequel Twist is it only works with the Libre 3 Plus to date, sort of. It is in limited market release with the Eversense 365. It is all controlled from an iPhone app right now. They still don't have the Android approval. And it has the lowest target setting. You can use an 87 target. It also probably has a lower, I don't know if it's the lowest, suspend limit for the safety. It goes down to 67. So although it doesn't have what's called an extended bolus, you can pick different types of foods. So you can pick a lollipop, which is like a fast-acting carbohydrate, a taco, which is like a kind of a balanced meal, or like a high-fat meal, which is like the pizza icon when you're giving your boluses, and that will actually tell it how long the carbs need to absorb. You can also go back and enter carbs. If you forgot to take a bolus, you can retroactively enter them, and that will feed back into the algorithm. It has pre-meal preset, so like you can use an even lower target before you eat of like as low as 67, and you can kind of set that up to an hour before you eat to get a lower target glucose. And then there's also the workout preset, which goes up to 250, which you can use before and during exercise. So yeah, it's really exciting. It only works with one infusion set right now called the Clio. I used that a really long time ago with the Deltec Cosmo. But it's really easy to insert, so that's the good news about that. They're working on other infusion sets, and I think it's really cool because you can change all of the settings. It's really customizable compared to the other options.
Yeah, and I do want to use the Eversense, ideally.
Yeah, okay, awesome. That's awesome.
I'm going on Medicare not very long, so that was wonderful to hear.
Yeah.
Was it Laurel say, whoever said that?
Yeah, that they have great coverage. That's amazing. Okay, we got one.
How long does the Twist last? How many days?
So you have to change the infusion set every 3 days. right now. But any other questions?
They told me that you actually don't have to change it, that you can change it when your insulin runs out. And depending on how much,
As somebody that's used the Clio, I don't know if I'd recommend that. How's that?
well, okay, well, and some people don't use that much, and some
Yeah.
people, would like it only holds 300. So, that depends. But
Yeah. So yeah, to your point, so it comes with something called a cassette. The cassette you get through the pharmacy channel, and that's what you're filling with insulin. And so that holds 300 units. So the cassette, they've tested it, right? You can use that until it runs out of insulin. But the infusion set piece, it's on label to still change it every 3 days. Yeah. Okay. Can we move on to the last one really quickly and then can we all chat? Yeah? Awesome. Okay. So then we have Beta Bionics iLet. So this is really interesting. So this is probably the simplest system from the interface standpoint. You enter in your weight to get it started. That's all you enter. And then you pick a target glucose. So there's a usual glucose target, which is 120, a lower one, which is 110, and then a higher one, which is 130. There is a sleep target. And it's a really like complex algorithm. It uses a lot of different factors. It only holds 180 units of insulin, but you can get the pre-filled cartridges, which is really nice so that you don't have to fill the cartridge yourself. If you do with this, this one is a little bit wonky with the pieces and parts. And then it uses the same infusion sets as like the Medtronic pump. Well, not the 7-day wear Medtronic or Tandem, but like the typical sets that have been available for years with like Medtronic and Tandem. Um, the biggest selling point on this, besides the fact that you just enter in your weight to start it, it has icons on the screen. So the screen is like really easy to navigate. As you can see, there's a little button right here where you would click that if you're eating food. It's just a fork and knife. Um, to change the insulin, you can press the insulin button. It tells you your sensor glucose in the middle. Um, and for this, you cannot enter in a specific amount of carbohydrates. All you can do is enter in a carb announce. It's called announcing a carb estimate. So you're saying that you're eating your usual amount, less than usual, more than usual. And then it gives you something based on that estimate. From this, we've learned that with most of the systems, you can actually just estimate the carbs that you're entering. They even did an analysis of Omnipod 5 in tandem for people that were estimating carbs. Um, and their time and range was very similar to people that were precisely carb counting. So my tip of the day is you can estimate carbs on a lot of these systems and still get good time and range because they all have algorithms that work in the background to handle any changes in your glucose from the food that you ate. Yeah, and so the thing that's interesting though about this Beta Bionics is that you can't change anything. So it's kind of like a hands-off thing once you get started. Um, it works with the Libre 3 Plus, the Dexcom G7, Dexcom G6, Dexcom G7 15-day. This is kind of what a report looks like. You can see when someone announced a meal, it gave them a certain amount of insulin. You can see their glucose goes up. It does give pretty aggressive corrections, if you're announcing meals. You can't really trick it. If you try to trick it, it does result in a lot of lows. I've seen it clinically. The other good feature about this is that it has an amazing companion app that shares data. So this is the only pump that has an app that actually shows everything going on with the pump to the caregiver or to the care partner. So it shows how much insulin is left, the battery life, all of that on the companion app. So it's really nice if you have a care partner involved. And then in the pipeline, they are coming out supposedly with and very easy to use patch pump called the Mint. And as you can see, it's supposed to be like as user friendly as possible. Um, so they're not really going to make algorithm improvements as much as focusing on coming out with the Mint and then their bihormonal system, which we thought would come out by now. But that's kind of the update there. And then I just wanted to end here with the future of AID. So as you can see, it looks like a lot of these systems have tubeless pumps controlled completely by the smartphone in the pipeline. Um, so that's kind of where things are moving. Um, yeah. So we can chat now.
Thank you so much, Julia.
Yeah.
I tried to take some of the questions that I saw in the chat. But if you all did ask a question that wasn't addressed yet, feel free to also verbally say it out loud. I wrote down some.
Julia, you mentioned, Beta Bionics is working on the dual hormone pump where
Mhm,
it'll give insulin to bring your sugar down, but also give glucagon if you need it to bring it up
mhm,
from a low. And you mentioned you thought it would come out by now, but it hasn't.
mhm.
Um, do you have any educated guesses on what a time frame on a pump like that would be?
Yeah, so I'll tell you the holdup. I can tell you the holdup, but I don't know about the timeline. The holdup
Okay.
is that unfortunately, so like I can only speak on the United States FDA like approval process, but the problem is there's no marker for improving time below range that the FDA will use. So to them, if a continuous glucose monitor and an automated insulin delivery system are already showing very minimal time low, there's no pathway to get a device that also delivers glucagon approved because how are you going to show that that's more effective than the current system when people are aware of their glucose and treating it? So there's no marker to really get the FDA on board with showing that it's more effective with the bihormonal glucagon. That's the holdup.
Okay. You see, I have a bunch more questions, but I see Gareth had a question, so I'll let you go to.
Oh, is it in the chat or is it? Oh, what about non-invasive CGM using fluorescence or okay, Gareth, I'm so sorry, but like I have not had time to like actually look into the details of the up and coming stuff. I know recently there was one that was approved, but I I just I haven't had time to look at the study details or anything. And what makes me nervous, like from my standpoint now, is that I think people are using CGM more to like understand glucose trends. And so I don't know, I'm not clear without knowing a lot of details on if it will be applicable to people who take insulin or not. But if someone else knows the answer, please share.
Um, a friend of mine who used to work in the medical device industry, although not specifically on pumps and CGMs, shared with me a couple of years ago like a 200-page scientific paper on the
Mhm.
history of trying to come up with non-invasive glucose monitoring systems and what all the scientific problems is. And it's almost kind of like the scientific problems are just so hard that you can probably get, as you say, for someone with type 2 or someone who just wants to monitor if their glucose is going up or down, like a general idea. But in terms of being precise enough, um, to dose on. This paper was saying it's something where like every few years somebody has a new idea and venture capitalists throw money at it and like it's never going to work was kind of the takeaway. So again, might be good enough for people that want a general idea, but dosing, getting it precise enough with non-invasive methods is apparently really, really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you also have to think too about like insulin users. So, especially with automated insulin delivery now, if that's the market for insulin users is to have integration with automated insulin delivery for a lot of insulin users, it's like it has to be very accurate, right? In order to do so.
Yeah,
Um,
I've seen RF ones or RF reports with MARDs compatible or comparable to the G7 or G6 at the time.
Gareth, I have like so many thoughts though on MARD. So MARD is kind of a scam.
Absolutely.
Because depending on how you set up the analysis and depending on who's in the analysis, right? You like so if you took a bunch of people that didn't have diabetes or that had like early stage type 2 diabetes, right? And they wore the CGM, the MARD may look a lot different than if you're looking at people with a lot of glycemic variability, like people who are insulin dependent. And so I've also seen though the companies kind of have really interesting samples and sample characteristics of the population they include in the MARD studies. So yeah, that's my 2 cents there.
I mean, Mard's not ideal, but
Yeah.
better than nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. We need something.
I mean, many years ago, I compared two finger prick meters, and they were quite far off
Yeah.
from
I
each
mean,
other.
yeah,
And I plotted them against each other over a random set, and
that's
the
awesome.
slope was quite significantly different. But they intersected at around 7 millimoles or around 120 mg.
Interesting. So, right. So the more normal glycemic,
They
the
were
value
very
was.
good,
Yeah.
but when you need to know, they were quite a ways off.
And we still have some of that, unfortunately, especially with like low blood sugar.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, thanks. I think Keith has had his hand up for a very long time.
Yeah. Keith, then Tammy, then Hillary.
Well, you were talking about the partner controls, because I use the MiniMed 780, and Bernice gets more information on her screen than I do on mine because she gets the percentage of battery left, where I just get high, medium, or done. Well, she'll get it down in a percentage till it's down to 30%. And with hers, she knows how much insulin I have on board, how much I took. So it's basically the same. The only advantage she has is the battery life.
So, Keith, you said you were the 780.
Yes.
Is that a newer app?
Well, I've been on the 780 for 18 months now, and I was always on it.
Interesting. Okay, that's really good to know. And thank you for telling me that.
You're welcome.
Tammy.
My question is, so you mentioned with the mini med that they're coming out in the future with a patch pump. Is that the same as basically wearing like an Omnipod?
So the thing is, Omnipod has all these patents on their technology.
Yes.
So from my understanding, all of the companies that are coming out with some type of patch device, it seems that they can't have a completely disposable device because of some of the patents that Omnipod has. Don't quote me on that, but that's what I'm gathering. So if you look at it, they all seem to have a piece that's disposable and a piece that's reusable. But then somebody might patent that. I don't know. I hope not, because it'd be so cool to have different options, right? Like,
well, I switched to the dash because I'm tired of tubing. But if Fred is going to come out with something similar, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So Tammy, you said you're on the dash?
On the dash right now. I switched off to 780, just paid out of pocket for my dash system.
Can you get the Omnipod 5 or no?
Possibly. I actually wanted to try looping with
oh yeah, okay. That's where I was getting with that. I was wondering if you were looping. Okay.
Yeah,
you should loop. You should do that instead. Yeah, you'll be happier, I think.
Next is Hillary.
Yeah, it's great to see you and good
you
to
too. Thanks for coming on.
Yes, and this has been fabulous. As Julia knows, because I've been talking to her offline or texting her, I am very interested in the Mobi, mainly because of exactly what you said. I want to interact with my phone and not my pump. I keep my pump in my pocket. I can't stand that alarms go off while I'm driving, and I have to dig it out of my pocket. It's stuck behind the just to silence a stupid alarm that I don't even want anyway. Which leads me to questions. I've heard complaints that you cannot silence alarms on the Mobi, that they're loud.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, so when the first time I was like hanging out with one of my friends wearing a Mobi, I was like, what is that? Like, but it's more that the vibrations are actually louder. That was more what bothered me than anything else. Like, so the vibrations on the X2 are very quiet. They're not quiet on the Mobi, but it's better than it alarming, like with an audible alarm, but it is much louder. And so I think some of that depends too on how you're wearing it. So I haven't played around with like how the different alarms sound depending on if you're wearing it as like a patch versus like tucking it away somewhere. But my friend who has the very loud alarms was wearing it clipped onto her, so I don't know.
Okay, that's probably, I'm not going to wear it patched because I need to move it around and I'm allergic to a lot, as other people have complained.
Yeah.
Just one quick thing on that. I thought they had to have a way of turning it off.
That's my
Because
next
I've been told
question.
by a tandem rep, they actually put it in, this is a terrible reason, but because of school shootings in the US. So that students with diabetes could turn off their alarms. Can you believe that? I
That's
can't.
amazing.
You can believe it, but it's awful that that's the case. But that was what I was told.
I
That's
think the only
incredible.
one that you can't turn off is the urgent low glucose.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know because I have tried, well, I've tried to turn off as many alarms as I can on my X2 because I have deep alarm fatigue.
Yeah.
I don't read them. It doesn't matter what they say, forget it. If I don't feel it, that's what alarms me, is what my body tells me, not what these stupid beeps and buzzes do. So I've tried. There are still maybe 4 alarms that I cannot turn off on my X2. I'm hoping I can turn off all the alarms on the Mobi.
I don't think the predictive high and predictive low, but those are technically alerts, but and then you still can't turn off the urgent low.
Right. Well, that would make sense. I know the FDA requires that one.
They
And even
require
with
it.
the school shootings, I'm sure they require that one just because the FDA is solid on that with all the pumps. Um, and I thought I had another question about the Mobi. Oh, you were talking about how the pump and this pump and the sensor have to be on the same side.
Yeah.
I've been losing with the Tandem app. I've been losing connection to my X2 a lot. I have to, and I'm on an Android. I don't know if that makes a difference. Is that going to happen with the Mobi? Does it have a stronger transmitter? It's driving me crazy.
So personally, I have had to work through a lot of glitches with the X2 app. Customer support had me do all sorts of weird things, like
Oh,
turning
okay.
off certain so that's more of a Bluetooth issue between the pump and your phone than anything else.
I figured it
It's
was
not
because
it's not necessarily a signal issue as much as there's noise. There's probably noise.
Okay. Yeah, and it didn't occur to me to call them. That would be helpful.
Well, it's a headache, but yeah.
Yeah. And then oh shoot, and I'm going to lose it, but I'll figure it out later. I've co-opted a lot of time, but thank you.
Yeah, you can ask me questions anytime.
I will. Thanks.
Eva, your turn to go.
Yeah. Hi. I moved provinces in Canada to Ontario in May, and I have a 1 year wait from probably it won't be till June or so to get into an endocrinologist here, and I want to upgrade from Omnipod Dash to Omnipod 5 desperately. But I'm wondering, while I'm waiting, should I try looping, or is it DIY looping? There is in British Columbia, there is a
There's
clinic
a clinic that helps. Yeah.
that helps. Yeah, yeah. All you need is any physician to refer you.
I mean, I think as long as you have all the resources and pieces and parts, as somebody that previously looped, I absolutely loved it. And the only thing to keep in mind is once you loop, you're not going to want to go back to a commercial system because you have so much control over everything. And then when you go to an approved system, if you were to go to that, like you don't necessarily, you can't change as many things. And the algorithms they're different. I can tell you that.
They're more aggressive from what I read.
Yeah,
so I'm wondering for an older type 2, I've been type 2 for about 9 years. So not that long, relatively. I mean type 1, sorry. So I'm just wondering if I should go that route.
Have you ever met Joanne Milo?
No.
Does anyone on this call know Joanne Milo? She's an older adult who loops, she runs Loop and Learn.
Oh.
I think you should connect with Joanne Milo.
I've seen that online, yeah.
Yeah, join Loop and Learn. You can reach out to her. She has actually a new Facebook group called T1D to 100 that she's running for older adults. And it's different from this group though. Because I talked to her about it.
You can be part of the BC clinic from Ontario because I loop from Ontario with the BC clinic, so you can do that.
Thank you. Yeah, I had gathered that. I'm just reluctant to, is it going to be too techie? I'm relatively techie for the age group, but, depends how challenging it is.
Or you should
how much work. They say
Andrea.
it's a lot more work involved than a system like Omnipod 5.
Just connect with Andrea about it sounds like.
Thank you.
Not techie at all. They take care of everything.
Yeah.
Really?
They update it for you, everything.
And how long does it take to get going with it? To get the
You just need to
education?
get your appointment.
Yeah. And then it's a pretty quick process.
Yeah.
Once you're in.
Yeah.
And
Right.
especially if you've been on the 5, I'm sure it's pretty easy. I
No,
love it. I'm
I've never been
90%.
on an automatic system. No, I've only
Yeah.
been on Dash with G6. Yeah.
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 I'm
So
90% in range, so I'm perfect. I'm happy.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah.
I also use Dash, and I went with the BC Diabetes Clinic, and they just have a Zoom with you, and they'll set you up, and you push this button and that button, and then they give you a support person. So
Oh, wonderful. Excellent.
I wish we had that in the US. That's amazing. I have a friend who she's in Toronto, and she works with the BC clinic as well, and she has good things to say. So
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Randy's turn, and then maybe Sandra.
I'm wondering about the Eversense, and is there places you can't put it? Whoever was on the Eversense had all that great information.
That was me.
Yeah, Laurel, thank you.
Yeah, so basically, because at one point I talked to my doctor about possibly, the first doctor I had was also involved in early testing in Columbus, Ohio. And
Are you from Ohio?
Well, I was a professor at OSU for several years, but I'm back on the East Coast now. I'm in outside of Boston. So,
Awesome. I grew up outside of Boston-ish, and now I'm in Ohio. So
we went reverse.
Yeah.
But at any rate, I was wanting it, I forget if it was I think it was on my butt, because I'd had good experience in the past. There was some reason, but at any rate, she was willing to try, but she said originally with the Eversense, they tried initially on abdomen, and the problem there was they found it sometimes very difficult to locate the old sensor because there wasn't enough holding the sensor in place, and so it could move around basically. And that's the advantage of the arm, is that it's much tighter up here, and the muscles sort of hold it in place, so it's much easier to get the old one out and put a new one in. And you have, I don't know that nothing else is formally approved except back of the upper arm. However, there are some practitioners, especially some, if there's somebody who's been doing it for a long time, they might be willing to do it if you had a really good reason for it in a different location. But it comes with some potential problems from what I understood. And so ultimately I opted not to do that.
Did you get the impression that if the less amount of fat or skin that you have makes a difference? I mean, if the muscles are tight in the abdomen or even the legs?
No, I don't think so, because there's always with the belly. The thing is, it's not backed up behind bone. It's backed up behind with organs and belly behind it. It's soft tissue, whatever.
Most of it, yeah.
But
I mean, the muscles.
That was just what I was told.
Okay.
And so I don't know any more than that for sure.
Okay.
But that's what I would have thought part of the issue is.
Thank you.
Yeah. I've heard similar, so.
All the questions I'd written down got asked again, so I have no more to add. Did anyone?
Can I add just one more to my Mobi question, which applies to any of the tubeless or any of the non-screen ones, so Omnipod and whatever else they're coming out with? As you said, it seems like that's the future. Is the algorithm on the pump? This is always my question, because I walk away from my phone all the time.
Yeah, no, I think it's pump based. From what I understand,
I would think so.
I think they're all pump based.
Okay.
From what I understand.
Because if I walk away from my phone, it no longer it has the readings from my sensor, but it doesn't have.
They should all be pump based at this point.
Okay. Great.
Yeah. Philip?
Hi, if we've got time. I was on a call last week it's like a local Southern Washington State, Portland, Oregon area type 1D group. and there was a tandem rep on talking about the new 7-day infusion set. And I'm like you, Julia, in that the steel needle is the only infusion set I can get to work for me. I think because of all the scar tissue, frankly, approaching 51 years with T1D. And what she was saying was that the new 7-day one, like if a usual cannula or steel needle insulin only comes out the end, the new 7-day, there's actually 4 or 5 spots along the length of it that it can come out. So she thought that it supposedly will work much better for people that get lots of occlusions or crimping if they try to use anything other than a steel needle. Do you buy that, or is that just kind of tandem talking it up?
So it's funny. So when I tried the 780, they tried to get me. They were like it was very similar. Like it's porous. It has lots of, insulin comes out from multiple places. There's supposedly less inflammation upon insertion. And so I thought, well, if I were to try it, I'd probably want to anticipate still having to change it before 7 days. So that's my 2 cents, is that I think you could probably try it. But if you have issues with the Teflon cannulas or non-steel cannulas, I'm still not convinced it'll last the full 7 days. If you look at the study data, there was a significant, in my opinion, amount of people where it didn't last the full 7 days. It was like at least a third of them had to change it at like day 5 or something, which is still better than day 2 or 3. But so I would anticipate having to change it more frequently, and I think at some point I probably will try it. But I will anticipate changing it more frequently than 7.
Well, watch it when that happens, because insurance will only cover
I'm sure
every
they won't.
7 days. And so if you're changing it every 5 days, you're now going to be short infusions at the end.
Keep in mind, I have a luxury of having samples, so like different.
No, I'm just warning everybody else.
No, thank you.
Be aware of that. You don't want to fool with those timings unless you get, as you start storing them up when you get replacements and all that. Then you can
No, whenever I'm talking with reps or anyone who's rah-rah in tech, I always approach it with some degree of skepticism and cynicism, because we all know real life can be somewhat different.
I would just add, we didn't get to the insulin. If there is anybody who is interested in learning about Afrezza, that's the inhaled insulin, feel free to, I'll stay on for a moment or more, to contact, to let me know at the end, and we can talk separately offline. But I would say it's not available in Canada. It is hard to get insurance to pay for it. If you're, and at our age, you can't have manufacturer pricing because you're probably on Medicare. So it's not easy. But if it is something you're interested in, I'm happy to answer your questions.
Laurel,
I'm on the 780, and I live in Canada, and I have some American friends who supply me with it. And it is so amazing for those stubborn highs.
I know.
That the pump, it's incredible.
Laurel, I was going to ask you, do you exclusively bolus with Afrezza?
So yes, I use a long acting with it, because it's only, what's the advantage of it is it's 2-hour instead of a 4-hour duration with a 1-hour peak. So it acts really fast. And for me, because I'm not on pump, it's very advantageous for the morning high. I can bring down my morning high super quick because I don't have any pump that's gradually increasing the amount of insulin as I'm waking up. So that's been one thing. And then indeed, if you go high, you can bring it down a lot faster. It's given me more flexibility when I'm doing like restaurant meals or meals at somebody's house or long meals, because I can do several across the meal gradually, and I can experiment because there's enough, it's a short enough duration that I can afford to experiment. And so it just basically gives me more flexibility. And since I didn't grow up with this, I don't have a good sense of some of those things. So it's been very helpful to allow me to do more than I might have if I was stuck with a 4-hour duration and having to bolus at least 15 to 20 minutes before I eat and know what I'm going to eat and things like that.
I actually have a handful of folks that are like that don't use pumps for one reason or another, that do really well with Afrezza for bolusing. Plus CGM is the secret sauce, right? Like you need a CGM with
Oh
it.
yeah, you have to have a CGM. Yeah. Yes, you need the CGM with Afrezza for sure.
But I also have some patients and friends that'll use Afrezza like adjunctively on top of their pump for certain situations. Like I have one patient that like whenever she has cereal, she uses it. Or I have other friends that like for particular like holidays or events, they'll like use it for that. And then not
Very fast. It's very good with very fast sugars, which is a danger because then it's easier to eat those sugars, which you shouldn't be eating.
Yeah, it is. Any other questions?
No, but I was just going to say I was having terrible problems with stuck highs, long highs, and I switched to Fiasp in my pump, and I have loved it, absolutely loved it, and it has controlled a lot of all of those issues that you were just saying that you use the Alfrezza for. So for those of you who can't get Alfrezza or your insurance doesn't pay for it, try some of the really rapid.
Yeah, Lumjev and Fiasp are really great for that too.
They're fabulous. But
Afrezza works even faster.
Right. It sounds like it's going in through your nose, but
No. You inhale it through the mouth. I think everybody thinks you snort it. You put an inhaler in the mouth.
That's right. I remember watching you do it at dinner when Laura used to live in Columbus. We would get together. But anyway, just to let you know, Fiasp or Limjab is I don't know about Limjab, but the Fiasp has been fabulous for me. Yeah, and it works with my Tandem, even though they warn you not to use it with the Tandem. That it gets whatever additive they have in it, it's supposed to get, or it may, they say, get stuck in your Tandem pump. It reacts with something in the.
Yeah, so it actually just has, so it's the same molecule as Novolog, but it has an additive with it, right? And so it's like they haven't tested it with the additive, blah, 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 blah. Right. Same thing with Lumjev, but for some reason I had issues with Fiasp in my Tandem pump, which like no one else does. And then Lumjev I don't, and so like I thought that was weird, a weird me thing.
Well, the warning that I got was for the Tandem pump, specifically for Fiasp.
Yeah.
I've never had a problem. So you actually fit the bill. I do not.
I did. But yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I totally recommend it.
Can you hear me here?
You're echoing.
Can I just ask one more question too? What's your opinion, Julia, on the different? I'm on a Tandem pump. Different types of insulin. I find I'm on Admelog. My endo feels all insulins are the same, so it's no point trying a different type. I feel that I have to use an incredibly high ratio count for the carbs I take with Admelog, and I go really high. Now, that might be the case if I was also taking another insulin, I don't know. But do you know any differences, or is it all purely people are different?
So actually, so there are so Lumjev and Fiasp they do have faster onset, faster peak, same duration. So they do work faster than the ones that are not the ultra rapid acting insulins. So that being said, some people say like theoretically, the ones that aren't ultra rapid acting kind of have the same profile. They do, but there are some slight differences, and certain people are very sensitive to certain insulins versus others. Like I personally find I can't use Humalog at all. Like it just like my body just doesn't like it. But if I use Apidra, which is like a weird one-off one I used to use back in the day. If I use Novolog, if I use Humalog, if I use not Humalog, if I use Novolog, Fiasp, or Lumjev, I'm fine. So like I think it's like pretty individualized, but I do think people find there are differences. And it is there is science that Lumjev and Fiasp do work faster than the other ones. So
I'm also finding that I'm getting a lot of weight gain. I just wonder, is there difference with some insulins?
So the only insulin that's actually weight neutral is Afrezza, which still requires a basal.
Does anybody know?
Sorry, what was the question?
Is that available in Canada? I've never heard of Afrezza.
No, it's not.
Not. Yeah. And it's just for bolus insulin.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Can you hear me okay now?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm having internet problems. But Julia, I wanted to check with you. You're going to share the resources and we'll share the recording for sure. But then I think you might have had another question for the group that you wanted to share about. And then I'll note that Julia is in our Platinum, like the online platform as well. So that might be another way for everyone to connect.
So, yeah, I wanted to share with you guys. Thank you, Victoria, for bringing that up. So I submitted a grant. I have this project idea. So a couple years ago, I had the opportunity to work with my innovation department at my hospital system to understand how to improve technology for older adults. That was like the general, like broad problem they wanted me to solve. They brought me and they brought a bunch of people in from other specialties. They ended up really liking my idea, which was how do we make technology better for people with diabetes as they age? Specifically, how do we make sure that devices are accessible for people with diabetes as they age? Because we know that a lot of older adults are excluded from clinical trials for the continuous glucose monitors and insulin pumps that are FDA approved right now. So there's workarounds, but they're not made accessible for older adults. So, I do a lot of insulin pump and CGM education and training with older adults in practice. And I I like I just see this problem more and more, and it's not going to get better, especially as I told you guys, as pumps are moving towards like all mobile-based platforms, we're going to keep having barriers if the mobile devices aren't made in mind with aging folks. So I submitted a grant proposal to the American Diabetes Association, but if you're from Canada, you can still participate. And I'm looking for individuals who may be interested in joining a community advisory board to share your insight about first of all, what the problem is for you. Like what are the biggest problems with technology not being made for you as you age? And then what can we do about it? Those are kind of the two questions that we want to answer. I don't have more details because I don't know if it's funded yet, but I did want to gauge your interest and I thought this was a really good opportunity to do so. So if you are interested, if you could please like put your first name, last name if you choose, and your email in the chat, and I will put you on the list to reach out to. If this isn't funded, I do hope to find another way to get it funded. And then Victoria and Jen from Connected in Motion are going to be partners on helping me with this. So I'm really excited, and I hope that it gets funded. And so thank you guys for being here and for your interest in this. And then I'm going to send everything to Victoria.
Monica's interest. Insurance and insurance and insurance.
Well, no, but it is, but that's part of the problem, right?
She's absolutely right, because I've been dealing with, I don't know, days and days and days literally on the phone in the last month or two with insurers for different medical issues.
It's funny because I'm finishing a project with young adults right now with insurance, and I'm like, oh, older adults, it's going to be technology accessibility. I'm like, watch it turn into insurance. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, well, at least in America, that is what runs the world right now.
Yeah, in the United States, very much so.
So you might not hear from me for a little bit about this, but I'm in the Platinum platform. Please stay in touch, ask me questions if you ever want to pick my brain about something. Thank everyone here who participated and shared your personal stories. Thank you so much. And thanks for having me.
Thank you, Julia. This has been fabulous.
Yeah, thank you,
Julia.
Thank you very much. And everybody else.
Sandra, did you still want to talk to me?
Sure.
Okay, so they're going to have to stay on to host. So, do you see in the chat? There's my emails there in the chat. If you want to just pull it up.
Yeah.
Before you disappear.
Okay. I think I have what I need. I have to figure out how to get it first.
Okay.
I also posted into the chat at the last group session folks requested to have like a Zoom meeting that you could use whenever you wanted. So that's the link there, the Platinum Cafe. When you click it, obviously coordinate with someone else when you want to use it so that you show up and you have someone to talk to. But it's a permanent link that you can use. And when you click it, you'll have to input a password. The password is Platinum. I've already posted that into the Platinum platform, but you'll also get it in your email as well as Julia's slides, as well as the recording from today. And if there's other important resources that we don't yet have, you can always be in touch with me or reply to the emails, and we'll make sure to get back to you with those. And really happy everyone made it today. And,
Yeah, thank you
thank you
guys.
so much, Julia.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Laurel, do you?
Thank you.
I lost her.
Victoria, I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm going to send you a PDF of the slides and the resources. So cool. Okay.
Perfect.
All right. Cool.
Okay. Bye, Eva.
Bye.
And bye, Keith.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for the program.
See you soon.
See you next Wednesday night.
Yes, exactly. For our coffee or beverage night. I'm excited for that one.
Sounds interesting.
hmm Just to chat about anything. So we'll see you then for sure, Keith.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
I just have trouble with the chat. I have trouble reading the chats on the screen, so I don't get all the background questioning. So
I
there's a
know
lot.
there was a very active chat today. That's why I was writing the things down so I didn't forget them.
But like some of the answers you didn't show the participants' answers. That's where you gain a lot of information. But like when you have trouble reading the screen to get it up so I can read, I lose everything else.
Yep.
Okay then. Thank you.
Okay, take care, Keith.
Okay,
Bye.
see ya. Bye.